Hello, chums! This is the most recent stamp set that I purchased. It's from Avery L. and it's called Hello, Chum. And I absolutely adore this stamp, so I thought today I would do a tutorial showing a few different coloring techniques with this really cute shark. You guys, I just love this stamp set. I love the sharks and the surfboard. I can't wait to stamp this and color it. I think that's next up on my list of projects, is to come up with a cute card that I can do with the surfboard and the shark. Maybe throw in the fishing pole, see what I can do. I ordered this stamp set the day that it came out. I could not wait to get it. This was created by Corinne Davies for Avery L. And you can find her on Instagram and I'm sure Facebook and all the different social media sites. You can find her under Glitter Me Silly, which I think is a really cute name. And if you make something with the stamp set, be sure to hashtag her name or Glitter Me Silly. Because I'm sure she would love to see what you've created with the stamp set. It's so cute. These are the two cards that I've made so far. Of course, this one was the one that I did using a Sandy Alnick's YouTube tutorial. So, of course, I'm not going to do a tutorial when you've got someone like her that's made one for you. So go find hers and make this card as well. I really like the technique of the undercolor water that she taught on her video, and I look forward to practicing that more and getting better at doing that. This card here I also made with the stamp set, and I just stamped the fin and the water scene and colored that with Copics and cut it out with the die cuts. And this is Stampin' Up paper that I thought coordinated really well with this card. And I stamped the greeting here. We're going to need a bigger ... dun 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 cake on the inside, and I raised him up with some dimensionals, so I thought he'd look like he's coming out a little bit at you, so I really liked that. I'm going to do something a little bit different today, though. We're not going to make either one of these cards. What I thought I would do is stamp this image here, just the shark, and color it using 3 different techniques. So what we'll do is color it with Copic markers, with Prismacolor pencils, and with watercolor markers, and see how different they look, and see if we have one that we prefer more than the other. So that's what I thought we would do today, and so I'm going to go ahead and start first with let's see. How about the watercoloring? We'll do watercoloring first. So let's get going. I'm going to speed up the technique part of this video just for time's sake and just give you the details on the materials that I used as I go along. So for the watercolors, I used Zig Clean Color Real Brush watercolor markers. That's a mouthful. And I actually only had to use 2 different markers for this portion, so that's pretty cool. So that for the shark, I used number 91. It's called light gray, and I just colored the entire top part of the shark with this color, and then I went down to the bottom and just colored just a little bit in the shadow areas of the shark. I'm going to go in just a moment and add just some water with my paintbrush and give it a nice cool watercolor technique. You don't have to be neat at all when you do this, because watercoloring really isn't about being neat. It's just about the cool effects that water gives to paint or gives to these markers as you go along. I'm just trying to be careful not to get water anywhere near the mouth portion of the shark, because when I go in and add the red ink, which I'm going to do in just 1 second, I don't want the red to bleed into the teeth. I want the teeth to stay nice and bright and white. So this red that I used is called Carmine Red number 22. And then the only other thing that I did to this little sharky is I went in with a Uniball gel pen and I added a little white dot to the eyeball, which I did with all of the sharks that I colored today. So here I used Prismacolor pencils to color this shark, and I just have a really small set of these colored pencils, and
I'm really new to using them, but you know what? It's colored pencils. Actually, all of this, it's just coloring. So just go for it and have fun, and you really can't make a mistake. Come on, it's coloring. So I used a black pencil for just the tip of the nose and the fin, just because I don't have various shades of gray. So I wanted to make those parts a little bit darker. And then I went in with a pale gold gray, and I colored the rest of the shark on the top, and then again down in the shadow portions. And then I used a white pencil. Now I'm not really sure if in the pencil coloring world you need to do this, because the shark portion that I'm coloring with white is actually white. So it's kind of like a just not really even necessary to do. But I thought that the white pencil would help to shade in the gray into the white area a little bit, and I think that that really did create that effect. So I did something right here, I believe. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. I just did it. I thought that it blended the gray in a little bit nicer. Then for the mouth, again, the color that I used was called Carmine Red. And then I went in with just a little bit darker shade of red called Crimson Lake Red. And then what I did is I used the Copic Multiliner black marker with a really small nib. It was like a 0.05, and I went in there just to add some details to the border of the shark and just to brighten it up a little bit. And then again, I went in with the white gel pen and just added a little bitty dab of white to the section of the eyeball, just to brighten it up a little bit. And that's all I did for that one. And then on to the Copics. I used my cool grays for doing the shark. I used cool gray number C7, C3, C1, and C0. I just used a little bit of C7 on the tip of the nose and the fin, just for that really dark area. And then I went in with the C3, which is a medium shade of gray, and blended out that darker color a little bit. And then for the remainder part of the top of that shark, I used C1 to cover up the rest of the top of the shark. I also used C3 down at the bottom of the shark to color in those shaded areas. And then again, I blended out just the shaded parts of the bottom of that with my C0. Copics make 4 different types of grays in their line. I only own 2 of them. I own the cool grays and the warm grays, and they work well enough for me. Again, I'm still learning how to use Copics. I may in the future need the other 2 kinds, but for now, just the cools and the warms do the trick for me. The warms work well for like coloring bunny rabbits and things like that, and the cools work good for these sharks, for instance. They also work good for manatees, elephants, things like that. Then I went in with an R29 and an R39 and colored in the mouth. And those are just really nice, vibrant, bright reds, and they're my go-to reds. I use the Copic multiliner to touch up the border of the stamp everywhere that kind of just got a little bit dull, and then I use the white gel pen again for the tip of the eye.
Well, that's it, chums. Here are 3 different sharks with 3 different coloring methods. Do you have a favorite? I'm curious. Write me a little note in the comment section and let me know if you like one better than the other. Right now, my favorite method is, I've got to say, I'm using Copics just because I'm so new to it, and I really love coloring with them. But I'll go in little shifts of using watercoloring or pencils. So I like having the option of having all 3 of these methods. But as you can see here, you can pick one and stick with it and use what works best for you. My pencils, I just have a real small set of them, and it really it works for me. I only needed 5 here. And my watercolor, clean color zigs, use 2 colors for that. I mean, how much easier can you get? One final thing I wanted to mention to you is I just want to run by real quickly the inks and the paper that I use for each of these. Of course, for the watercoloring, I use Stays-On ink because it does not blur when it gets wet. So you definitely want to use Stays-On ink when you're watercoloring. I used Tim Holtz's Ranger Distress Watercolor Cardstock. It is by far my favorite watercolor paper because I love that it's a brighter white and not as yellow as most of the other watercolor papers. So that's what I generally will use is the Ranger paper. For the Copics, I used Express It blending paper cardstock. And this is by far the most expensive paper that I use. So I make sure that I only use it for finished products. When I'm practicing with a ink blending technique, I'll use my other paper, which is Hammer Mill Color Copy Digital Color Cardstock, and that's 80 pounds. This is a very economical paper, and it works great for Copics. So I use that for the pencils as well. I don't know if there's a recommendation for pencil paper and for ink for pencils because I'm just not that familiar with it, but that's what I used. So yeah, there you have it. 3 different sharks and 3 different coloring techniques. So I hope you liked this tutorial, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on making cards with these since I've got them all cut out. Have a great day, and thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.